Hey, Coach, I'm hoping you'll indulge me with the tight end question here. I know, Austin Hooper has been a big part of the run game and blocking. Kevin Stefanski's given him credit for that. So he obviously had the appendectomy that we heard about. How important has he been to you guys in ways that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, catches and things like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. All of our tight ends have contributed to the running game in a lot of different ways. We ask them to do multiple things, not only from a gap scheme and a wide zone scheme, but there's a lot of specials that get inserted into the game plan that they're pretty involved with. I would say, Coach Petzing has done a great job with those guys in a lot of ways. They're unheralded. They're not given a lot of credit for all the dirty work that they got to do off the edge. But they're instrumental, when you look at your running game, and if you're going to work to get the ball on the edge or off tackle, they become a vital component, to your scheme. So, they've added a tremendous amount of value to what we've done.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nate. Mary Kay Cabot, you have our next question.
Hey, Coach, just wondering, this is a question that I've been asking everybody all week. When teams kind of try to take away a little bit of the bootleg and rollout game and try to keep Baker in there, you've been through so many of these sorts of things in your entire career. What can you guys do schematically and offensively to try to help that situation out? Whether, I don't know whether it's moving the pocket or whether it's shorter game. What kinds of things can be done, and do you see that getting a lot better down the road?
Yeah. So I think each week, based on the defense that you're playing, you're going to face defenses and structures that won't allow you to bootleg or get out there in your keeper game. So, you're relegated to do more things in terms of moving the pocket, maybe moving it like what we would call a drift or a half pocket movement, like you saw in the Pittsburgh game, where we threw a pretty good route to Austin Hooper on the backside. I think those things come up from time to time. And they're, again, if you're playing 3-4 defenses, those defensive ends, when they set the edge and they come up the field, they're not going to allow you to get outside in bootleg. So, again, your complementary pass game, your run action game, your three-step game, your ability to move the pocket, whether it's a half roll, a quarter roll, a half run action type pass action. Those are the types of things that generally people kind of revert to.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pre-K Scott. Patrick, you're up.
Hey, Coach, what did you think the biggest issues were for your line last week against the Steelers?
Yeah, I think every game is different in that regard. And I think the Steelers, they didn't present us issues. We knew exactly what they were going to be in. And so it's a matter of execution. And I thought we could have executed better across the board. We had some breakdowns like you do in any game, but they're costly against a good team like that. So you've got to be more consistent, and you've got to be, more in terms, you got to be on the, on the up end of the sticks, and you can't allow yourself to get backed up in the down and distances, obviously. But I just thought the Steelers they're a good football team. We learned a lot, from the tape study, past when we reviewed the game. And there's a lot of things that, we learned that we could improve during this course of the week of practice. So, yeah, there's a lot of things they do well and a lot of things that we did well, but we just, came up on the short end of the stick. We just didn't execute some of the things that we needed to get done, at critical times.
Did it surprise you that you weren't able to execute like you wanted to, given how well the line had played in the previous 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, I think the players are a little bit frustrated in that respect. I don't think they're discouraged by any stretch of the imagination. And again, I go back to, what we learned and how we can improve. I think that game's behind us. There are things that we've learned, relative to our protection techniques and also our run game techniques, that we'll learn from and get better when we see the next 3-4 defense that we play.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, Marla Ridenauer, you're up.
Yeah, Coach, I was just curious how, Chris Hubbard told us he had never played guard in a meaningful game until Teller was hurt. So how is he coming along in that regard? Yeah,
well, surprisingly, he did very well in the Colts game. And, against Pittsburgh, he had some struggles here and there. But for the most part, he competed hard, and he's learning some of the intricacies of the position, which is hard to do when you move a tackle inside. It takes a little time. But again, I commend Chris for making this move on such short notice and doing the things he's done and having success. Some success that he's had in pass protection in the Colt game really came through very well. And when we played the Steelers, it's a different matchup, it's a different player, it's a different technique. So again, I think he learned from that as well. But again, to make that transition, it's awfully challenging, awfully tough, because things happen so much quicker and so much faster inside. So I think, we spent quite a bit of time this week, pre-practice and post-practice, trying to really dive into some of the detail of those specific techniques that I think he's comfortable with now, but we'll see.
But Tonio mentioned that I guess Wednesday you practiced in pads. And he said he thought you needed that. Does that particularly help the line?
Yeah, it does. I really do think we had some injuries going into the Pittsburgh game, and you really try to protect the team and keep the team healthy. And sometimes you can bang away and practice hard in pads, and some other times you have to back off. And we had to back off, a little bit last week because of the injury status of our team to keep our team healthy, obviously. But I think it was good to be back in pads this week, just from the standpoint of timing and fundamentals. When you get away from pads, I'm one who believes that your fundamental techniques begin to erode. And, if you don't hone those techniques and have the timing and crispness of the striking and the things that you need to do from that emphasis, I think you lose a little bit of your edge at times, So being back in pads was really good, and hopefully that'll pay off for us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marla. We'll go to Dan Lobby for our next question.
Hey, Coach, I'm just wondering what you've seen from Kevin Stefanski and his approach after a loss like that, and if you've kind of learned anything about him and how he's handled kind of coming back from that.
I think Coach has been great with the players, been great with the team and the staff and on so many levels. Just his consistency, his demeanor, his expectation level is always high, is always demanding. But he has a really great way about, communicating his message to the players week in and week out. Obviously, we weren't where we wanted to be last week. So this is a new challenge, a new day, and a different, again, every game's different. Even though we're playing the Bengals again as a divisional rivalry again, it's a different game. It'll be different than the first time then we played them. So he's been great in that respect.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Kay Cabot, you have our next question.
Coach, just wondering, and I asked J.C. Treader about this the other day. He gave me a really good answer about blocking for infinity. But when you have a quarterback who is learning, the new scheme, kind of coming up the learning curve and maybe not playing as fast as he probably will be in 3 or 4 weeks, how do you guys handle that when, he's holding the ball pretty much longer than any quarterback in the NFL right now? How do you guys handle that as a line? What's the approach, and what can you do?
No, we keep playing. We really do. We don't pay any attention to any of that necessarily. We just really kind of focus in on what we need to do and do our job. Our focus has always been to go longer, harder than anyone. And that's something we pride ourselves in. And whether he gets the ball out quick, whether he has to hold it for an extra second, or whether he's going to hold it for more, it doesn't really matter to us up front. We have a job to do, and we really want to be able to hold the ball and, obviously hold it when we need to and give him that time to make a big play. So again, there's nothing coming out of our room that says anything differently than, to do our job and do it better than we did last week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Jake Trotter, you're up.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, you guys up front are ranked very highly in terms of run blocking, pass blocking, analytics. It's rare to see a line be that good in both categories. What is it about this group that maybe has exceeded your expectations the most or surprised you the most from the moment that you kind of stepped in the building and started looking at film?
Well, I think it all begins with the players' work ethic. I think if you have players that are committed and like to work and want to work and get better and see the value of improvement and can really critique themselves and be honest with themselves and are smart enough to make the adjustments, you'll see that rate of improvement on a weekly basis. So again, it starts with the players. Number two, the coaching staff. I've got 2 fine assistants, Scott Peters, who's joined us this year, who's an outstanding hands technician. He brings a different aspect, to the line room where he can really kind of hone in on the player's hands technique and the punching that they do and the striking they do. And then Ryan Cordell does an outstanding job of putting it all together, whether, helping us with the run game plan or putting those pieces together, to keep our unit together with all the drawings and information that they need. So I'm kind of fortunate in that respect that I've got 2 line assistants, not just 1. So that's a real bonus. So it kind of helps me in terms of my workload, and then of course, our staff has been great. Every week when we sit down and do the run game plan, it's a collaborative effort. And, guys like AVP and the depth of his experience, and Kevin, what he's learned, from Gary Kubiak in the wide zone system. And then, Stump Mitchell has been just a real pleasure to work with on so many levels, with his experience coming from multiple systems. So it's a lot of fun. I'm re-energized here. I like our staff a lot. I like I like how we approach the game. I like our approach to study and research and, and obviously putting new things out on the table. So it makes it fun, makes it enjoyable.
Jake, did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I did. I know he's hurt right now, but you looked at the offensive line, Jack was obviously, accomplished, Bitonio, Trotter, and then Will's, highly touted coming out of Alabama as a first-round pick. But Wyatt Teller, the way that he has played this year, the way he's improved himself, is that something you saw coming? Did you challenge him this offseason? And when did you first think, man, this guy can really be a good player for us up front?
Well, going back into the draft, when I was in Washington, we had him in for our local day and had him in for a workout. And I thought he had talent. Then when we worked him out, we eyeballed him in the draft. Obviously he was picked, I believe, by Buffalo at the time. And, things worked out for him there. And then obviously he got traded to Cleveland. And when I got here, I thought, oh, that's pretty good, because I know his agent pretty well. And I know some of the guys that played for me who have his agent. And he's done a good job with them. And this kid he's a hardworking kid and he wants to be good. And he dives into it and he gives everything he has. He plays with good effort. You can't complain about, a guy not giving you the max effort on every play. And he does that. And then I think he provides an example for everybody else in that respect. But yeah, a lot of fun to coach, definitely.
We have time for one final quick question from Mary Kay.
Yeah, Coach, speaking of coaching staffs, how do you think, how exciting is it for Brian down there in Cincinnati to have, this exciting young quarterback to work with? And then I know you coached Zach when he was in college. So you've got some nice connections as we head into this game. So how does that all feel? And just talk about what Brian and Zach have kind of going on there with this young quarterback that they're working with.
Yeah. So, yeah, Brian and Zach go all the way back. When I was at Nebraska, in the summertime, they would get together and we had multiple camps at the time, 7-on-7 tournaments and things of that nature where teams will come in and they had opportunity to work with quarterbacks in the quarterback camps that we had. And then, things kind of moved forward and Zach got into coaching. I thought he'd be a tremendous coach. And then, of course, Brian got into coaching as well when he finished up at UCLA. And, their paths crossed quite a bit in the National Football League. And they've worked really hard together. They're on the same page philosophically. And then when they acquired Joe Burrow, I think, it kind of lit up their world, to open up some new things and some new opportunities to grow with a young quarterback, a top talent, obviously. But I know, for Brian's standpoint, he's really excited about Joe. He loves Joe, and likes the talent, and likes what he does. And he's really, really high on him in so many aspects, but I think more so than anything, I think it's his makeup, that they really love, about how his approach to the game and, what he loves, about the game and how he studies and delves into everything. So yeah, they're really excited about him, so I hope that they're not too excited Sunday though.
Will this be kind of a cool rivalry for you guys, hopefully going forward for, many years going down the line here?
Yeah, I mean, our family is our family. So, we try to keep business aside, from that respect. We don't, rub it into each other. We never have. And we've played each other several times when he was a quarterback coach at Detroit. when he was the quarterback coach in Denver. So, yeah, we always talk. We talk all week during the season and off season. So it's just a shame we're going down there and I can't see my grandkids. So that's the tough part of this. But I think as a family, I think the one that gets more nervous about anything is my wife. Because we're both competing against each other. But at the end of the day, it's all good.